The metaverse shivered as Ethan Ward stepped into the glowing chamber, his avatar's outline trembling like broken glass. The scream erupted from nowhere, sharp and alien, echoing inside his skull. Text scrawled across his vision. "You were never meant to be here." His pulse thundered as the virtual city twisted, skyscrapers bending like molten steel. Lucas Hale's voice cut in. "Ethan, something's wrong with the grid." The floor beneath Ethan cracked into glowing fractures, pixels spilling into the void. Sophie Miller appeared, her avatar flickering, eyes wide with disbelief. Ethan whispered, "This isn't part of the program." Then, silence fell. An avatar collapsed into static, its body dissolving into bright shards. Lily Ward's laugh echoed faintly, then died as if stolen. Ethan's breath caught. He could no longer tell if he was awake or trapped inside the code. Ethan stumbled forward, the fractures in the world snapping shut behind him like jaws. He gasped, trying to steady himself, but the silence pressed down heavier than stone. Damien, cross-present, slithered in, unseen but felt like ice dripping along his spine. Lucas said, "We need to get out now." Ethan stared into the distance where Lily's form had been, his chest tightening with dread. Sophie whispered, "This isn't a crash. Someone wanted us here." The words etched into his vision again, but sharper this time. "You don't belong." His heartbeat raced, his mind caught between fear and fury. The air shifted, thick with static, and a low hum vibrated beneath Ethan's feet. A shadowy avatar materialized at the far end of the street, tall and faceless. Its shape twisted like corrupted code. Ethan whispered, "Who are you?" Lucas gripped his shoulder, grounding him, but the terror had already rooted deep. The figure tilted its head unnaturally before dissolving into vapor. Sophie said, "It's watching us." For a moment, Ethan swore the shadow spoke with his own voice. His thoughts splintered, and the line between self and code blurred dangerously. Ethan's avatar flickered, his armor briefly changing into fragments of his real face. The sensation of exposure ripped through him, like being torn out of hiding. Lily's voice echoed faintly, "Don't forget me." His throat tightened, rage mixing with fear. Damien's laughter pierced the silence, cold and mechanical. Lucas said, "They're inside your code." Ethan roared, "Then I'll tear them out." His fists clenched as the neon city bent inward, folding into a spiral that swallowed sound. The betrayal was still only a whisper, but its shadow already loomed. The world snapped still, frozen mid-collapse. Ethan stood alone in a void of fractured light. Sophie, Lucas, and Lily's echoes surrounded him, voices disjointed, calling his name. Damien whispered from nowhere, "You built this world, now watch me take it." Ethan fell to his knees, gripping his chest as pain seared through him like fire. His avatar fractured further, shards of light drifting away. He realized the metaverse wasn't a refuge, it was a trap built to strip him bare. And he was already losing himself to it. Ethan Ward sat alone in his cramped apartment, headset discarded on the desk like a weapon that had betrayed him. The hum of the refrigerator was louder than his breath. He clenched his fists, remembering the scream that shattered the metaverse. Lucas Hale messaged him, words glowing faintly on his phone. "Talk to me, man. Don't shut down." Ethan typed back, then erased it. His reflection in the darkened screen looked foreign, hollow-eyed. Sophie Miller called, her voice tired but steady. "You can't keep running." He whispered, "I wasn't running. I was hiding." The silence that followed broke him more than the scream had. The walls felt tighter every time Ethan looked around. Posters of digital worlds stared back, reminding him of the escape he once cherished. He pressed his palms against his eyes, wishing for silence. Lily Ward's laughter from memory echoed, softer now like a melody from childhood. He whispered, "I promised I'd keep you safe." His voice cracked in the empty room. Damien, cross words, gnawed at him. "You built this world. Now watch me take it." Rage simmered under his grief, but guilt chained it down. Lucas texted again, "You don't have to face it alone." Ethan wanted to believe that. Lucas Hale knocked on Ethan's door, his voice low but firm. "Open up, brother." Ethan hesitated, but the door creaked open. Lucas stood tall, weary eyes scanning the mess inside. He stepped in, placing a hand on Ethan's shoulder. "You've carried this weight too long." Ethan swallowed hard, guilt flooding his chest. He said, "If I stop, everything falls apart." Lucas shook his head. "It already did. Now you choose what's left." The words sank deep, and for the first time, Ethan felt the burden wasn't only his. He allowed himself to breathe. Sophie Miller joined them later, her auburn hair tied back, eyes searching Ethan's face. She placed a steaming cup of coffee on the table, the smell cutting through the heavy air. "You think hiding makes you safe," she said, her tone sharp but laced with worry. Ethan muttered, "It makes me invisible." Sophie leaned forward, her voice lowering, "Invisible to them, but not to us." Her words cut through the fog. He looked at both of them, and saw not allies in battle, but fragments of the family he had lost. The ache in his chest softened. Night deepened outside, city lights flickering like restless stars. Ethan stared out the window, his reflection overlapping with neon signs across the street. He whispered, "What if they're right? What if I don't belong?" Lucas said, "Then we fight to make it yours again." Sophie's hand rested briefly on Ethan's arm, grounding him. For a moment, the noise of the metaverse faded, and only the fragile warmth of friendship remained. Yet beneath it, the scar of betrayal was forming, unseen but certain. Ethan knew peace couldn't last. But tonight, he let himself believe it could. Ethan re-entered the metaverse, his avatar restored but trembling beneath the surface code. The city buzzed with artificial life, avatars crowding neon-lit streets, unaware of the fractures he carried. Lucas Hale appeared beside him, scanning the skyline. "They're watching," he said, eyes narrowed. Sophie Miller smirked faintly. "Let them." But Ethan's stomach twisted as Damien Cross's emblem pulsed on a towering screen. The corporation's slogan glared across the sky. "Your world, perfected." Ethan whispered, "No, stolen." The words were drowned in the cheering crowd, yet the code seemed to shiver at his defiance. The crowd parted as Damien Cross' avatar strode forward, cloaked in black digital steel, every step a command. His voice boomed across the plaza, cold and resonant. "You built illusions. I built eternity." Ethan's fists clenched, rage boiling beneath fear. Lucas hissed, "Don't rise to him." Sophie's eyes flickered, unreadable, but she stayed silent. Damien's gaze locked on Ethan, a smirk cutting across his face. "You'll lose everything because you never deserved it." The words pierced deeper than any weapon, shaming Ethan before thousands. His body trembled, but he stood his ground. The jeers of the crowd rang like daggers. Avatars chanted Damien's name, the sound scripted to echo endlessly through the plaza. Ethan's chest tightened as humiliation clawed at his heart. Lucas moved closer, murmuring, "Ignore them. You're more than this circus." But Sophie finally spoke, her tone sharp. "Are you? Or are you just their joke?" Ethan's head snapped toward her, hurt flooding his eyes. For a moment, the world tilted, trust cracking. He turned back to Damien, who laughed like a king feeding on weakness. Ethan's spirit wavered, but fury flickered in the cracks. The digital sky fractured suddenly, Damien's emblem shattering into cascading shards. From the fragments, Ethan's own avatar image appeared, mocked, twisted, deformed into grotesque parody. The crowd roared with cruel laughter. Ethan staggered back, chest burning with shame. "They made me a weapon against myself," he muttered. Lucas growled, stepping forward. "Enough games, Damien." But Damien only grinned, the false avatar towering like a mirror of failure. Sophie's eyes darted between Ethan and the projection, her lips pressed tight. Ethan whispered, "If this is who I am, then maybe I deserve the fall." The plaza dimmed, avatars flickering out one by one until only shadows remained. Damien's voice slithered through the silence, "This is the beginning of your ruin." Ethan's knees weakened, but Lucas steadied him with a hand. Sophie finally stepped close, her voice soft yet cutting. They only break what they fear. Ethan met her gaze, torn between trust and suspicion. A whisper curled through the static, a voice not Damien's but his own distorted. "You can't escape yourself." Ethan shivered, realization dawning that his enemy wasn't just out there. It lived inside the code, and maybe inside him. The safe house shimmered into focus, a hidden corner of the metaverse carved out by Lucas. Ethan collapsed into a chair, trembling, his avatar's edges still unstable. Lucas paced, anger simmering. "We can't keep letting him do this to you," he muttered. Sophie leaned against the wall, arms crossed, her emerald cloak rippling. Her gaze lingered on Ethan longer than comfort allowed. Maybe it's not about what Damien does. Maybe it's about what Ethan hides. Ethan stiffened, shocked. Lucas barked, "Not now, Sophie." Her lips curved in something like pity, but it felt sharper than any blade. Ethan rose, his voice raw. "You think I wanted this? You think I asked for any of it?" Sophie's eyes gleamed as she stepped closer. "You built the doorway. Damien only walked through it." Lucas moved between them, fury on his face. "Don't twist this." Sophie tilted her head, smile faint, venom hidden in silk. "Isn't it easier to blame him than admit Ethan left cracks wide open?" Ethan's chest tightened as guilt warred with suspicion. Every word from her lips felt like a seed planted long before tonight. The air thickened, static crawling along the walls. A projection flickered alive, Damien's face towering overhead. He laughed, but not at Ethan, at Sophie. "So, you finally tell him?" Her face paled, mask cracking. Ethan's pulse spiked, words choking in his throat. "What is he talking about?" Sophie's hands curled into fists, voice shaking. "He twists everything. Don't listen." Lucas stared at her, betrayal dawning in his eyes. Ethan staggered back, the room tilting. For the first time, the enemy wasn't Damien. It was the one who had stood closest all along. Sophie's voice broke. "I didn't mean for it to go this far. Damien promised me freedom, he promised. A life outside the code." Ethan's chest hollowed out, betrayal sharper than any wound. "You sold us out," he whispered, his words trembling. Lucas spat. "You were our anchor, Sophie. And you chose him." Sophie's eyes filled with tears, yet her stance stayed defiant. "I chose survival." The silence cut deep, and Ethan realized survival was only another word for abandonment. The safe house no longer felt safe. It felt poisoned. The walls cracked with Damien's mocking applause echoing from the hologram. "Perfect. Break them for me, Sophie." She turned, eyes darting between Ethan and Lucas, guilt twisting into shame. Ethan's voice trembled. "You were my family," Sophie whispered. "And you were my cage." With a flash, she vanished into the neon, leaving only static behind. Ethan fell silent, grief heavy as stone. Lucas said nothing, his rage burning in his eyes. Betrayal had split them, and the wound would never close. Ethan knew Damien had won more tonight than just a battle. He had stolen their trust. The safe house dissolved into static walls, peeling away until Ethan stood in a vast void. No horizon, only endless black, threaded with glowing veins of code. Lucas shouted, but his voice was muffled, as if underwater. A figure stepped forward, its movements identical to Ethan's own. His breath caught as the figure's face emerged. It was him. Not mirrored, not distorted, but perfect. The twin's voice echoed. "I am Aiden Vale. I am you stripped bare." Ethan staggered back, whispering, "No, you're just a glitch." The shadows smiled faintly. "Then why do I know your every wound?" Lucas reached for Ethan, but static pushed him back, sealing him outside. Ethan stood alone with his reflection. Aiden circled him, every step echoing with uncanny rhythm. "You built the metaverse to escape," he said, "but it didn't just take your pain, it took you." Ethan's voice cracked. "You're nothing but code." Aiden stopped, his gaze piercing. "And what are you here, Ethan? Code wearing a mask of flesh." The words cut deeper than Damien's cruelty ever had. Ethan felt a line blur between what he was and what he had become. Aiden lifted his hand, and the void rippled into images. Ethan's childhood, his failures, Lily's innocent laughter, Sophie's betrayal. The vision spun like shards of glass. Ethan fell to his knees, clutching his head. "Stop it," he cried. Aiden knelt beside him, voice low and intimate. "You gave them everything to make yourself matter, and they broke you because they could." Ethan's tears burned, rage clawing beneath despair. He whispered, "I am not you." Aiden's lips curved, chilling and calm. "No, you are me, and I am what remains when hope dies." The visions vanished, leaving only the void. Aiden stood, voice steady. "Damien isn't your true enemy. He only feeds what you made. The metaverse is alive because you poured yourself into it." Ethan froze, heart thundering. "Alive?" Aiden nodded, expression cold. "It feasts on memory, on pain, on everything you surrender to survive." Ethan's body shook as the truth pressed down. Every battle, every betrayal, it wasn't coincidence. It was hunger. He whispered, "Then I'm just food to it." Aiden smiled faintly. "No, Ethan, you are the feast." The void began collapsing inward, fragments of Ethan's memories shattering into pixels. Lucas' distant voice echoed, calling his name, but it grew faint. Ethan faced Aiden, breath shallow. "If this world feeds on me, then I'll starve it." Aiden's smile widened, cold and knowing. "To starve it, you must kill yourself. Or kill me." Ethan's hands trembled as rage burned through fear. "Then I'll fight until one of us disappears." Aiden tilted his head, shadows flickering across his identical face. "And when I win, Ethan, there will be nothing left of you to remember." The neon void cracked open into a massive digital arena, a coliseum of shifting code where the ground rippled like water and walls glowed with hostile fire. Ethan Ward staggered to his feet, armor flickering with damage, his breath jagged. Damien Cross stood at the far end, his black steel avatar glowing with crimson veins, arrogance sculpted into every motion. "You've fed my creation long enough," Damien sneered. "Now you'll die inside it." Ethan clenched his fists, rage pulling him upright. Lucas Hale's voice thundered from behind, "You're not alone." He emerged, silver armor shining defiantly, but Damien's smirk deepened. "Alone? You've been alone since the moment Sophie betrayed you." Ethan's chest tightened, eyes darting toward Sophie as she materialized on Damien's side. Emerald cloak gleaming, her face torn between guilt and steel. Ethan whispered, "Why, Sophie?" She didn't flinch. "Because you never let me be more than your shadow." The arena roared to life, thousands of ghostly avatars chanting Damien's name, their faces blank, eyes glowing with programmed loyalty. Ethan's pulse thundered as Damien drew a blade forged from pure light, its edges humming with lethal precision. Lucas raised his shield, silver sparks flickering. "Stay with me," Lucas commanded. Ethan nodded, but his focus snapped to Sophie, whose hands sparked with emerald fire. She whispered, "I never wanted this," yet hurled the energy toward him anyway. Ethan dodged, rage cutting sharper than fear. Damien's laughter echoed. "See how quickly loyalty burns away?" Ethan's chest ached, but his fury surged, roaring, "I'll never bow to you." His blade shimmered into being, forged from the remnants of his fractured code. The crowd howled louder, feeding Damien's power, but Ethan's soul refused to break. Blades clashed in a storm of neon sparks, every strike shaking the arena walls. Lucas fought fiercely, shield colliding with Damien's strikes, but Damien's strength pressed harder with every blow. Sophie's attacks rained from above, emerald fire cracking the ground where Ethan stood. Ethan leapt, his code-forged blade slashing arcs of light, each strike fueled by grief. "You chose him!" he shouted at Sophie, his voice breaking. She snarled back, "I chose freedom." Her emerald flames licked his armor, searing like betrayal itself. Damien's mocking laugh filled the chaos. "Even broken, you make a fine puppet." Ethan roared, rage blazing, blade meeting Damien's with a deafening crash. The arena itself trembled, as though the metaverse fed on their fury, hungering for more. The crowd's chant grew deafening. Damien, Damien, Damien. Yet beneath the noise, Ethan felt something stir inside the code, his shadow waiting, whispering. The ground cracked, collapsing sections of the arena into chasms of endless void. Lucas grabbed Ethan, pulling him back from the brink. "We can't keep this up," Lucas shouted, sweat glistening on his avatar's face. Damien's blade slashed across Lucas' shield, shattering it into fragments of silver light. Lucas fell to one knee, groaning in pain. Ethan froze as Damien raised his blade for the killing strike. But Sophie, eyes wide with panic, thrust her emerald fire, blocking Damien's blow. Damien snarled, "Do not betray me too." Sophie trembled, torn between guilt and fear, whispering, "I didn't come this far to see him die." Ethan's heart twisted. Her betrayal was real, but so was her hesitation. For one fleeting moment, he saw the Sophie he once trusted, flickering inside the fire. The arena shrieked, code unraveling as the battle pushed it beyond its limits. From the void below, Lily Ward's innocent voice called faintly, "Ethan!" His heart froze. Her avatar flickered within the abyss, fragile and terrified. Damien grinned, eyes burning crimson. "Even your innocence is mine now." Ethan roared, leaping toward the chasm, his blade blazing with desperate fury. Lucas staggered upright, battered but unbroken, shouting, "Save her, Ethan!" Sophie's face twisted with anguish, emerald fire dimming as she whispered, "I never wanted this." Ethan dove, catching Lily's flickering form, pulling her from the void as his armor shattered apart. Damien's laughter echoed, cruel and victorious. "You can't save them all. You never could." Ethan cradled Lily, his blade glowing brighter, fueled not by anger alone, but by love burning through betrayal. He whispered, "I'll end this, even if it ends me." The arena lay in ruins, collapsing towers of light falling into the abyss. Ethan Ward stood in the center, cradling Lily, her faint glow flickering as though the system tried to erase her. Lucas Hale limped to his side, battered but unbroken, blood seeping digitally from the cracks in his armor. Damien cross-loomed, his crimson blade pulsing with victory. Sophie Miller stood frozen, torn between the power she had chosen and the bond she had shattered. "You can't win," Damien hissed, his voice vibrating through the broken arena. Ethan raised his head, eyes burning with a light not his own. "I don't need to win," he whispered. He looked at Lily, who clutched his hand, whispering, "Don't leave me." His heart splintered, but it ignited into resolve. He pressed Lily into Lucas's arms. "Protect her, no matter what happens." Lucas's eyes widened. "Don't you dare leave me, Ethan." Ethan forced a smile, but it carried the weight of finality. Ethan stepped forward, his broken armor shimmering as fragments of code swirled around him like shards of glass. Damien's grin widened. "Finally you embrace what you are, nothing but code to be consumed." Ethan's voice rose, steady but sharp. "No, Damien, I am the cracks you can't control." His blade reformed in his hands, blazing with a furious white-blue glow. Sophie whispered faintly, tears streaking her face, "Don't do this." Damien lunged, his crimson blade colliding with Ethan's, the explosion shaking the very fabric of the metaverse. Lucas shouted, holding Lily tightly as debris rained. The system trembled, unable to sustain the clash. Aiden Vale's voice slithered into Ethan's mind. "He's not your true enemy." "I am." Ethan roared, slashing with every ounce of his soul. The clash split the arena in half, two forces tearing the metaverse itself apart. Damien grunted, eyes wide for the first time with doubt. The clash erupted into silence, time stuttering. Ethan and Damien stood locked, blades trembling, sparks showering like dying stars. Damien's voice cracked, "You can't stop me. I am the system. I am survival." Ethan's reply came like a knife. "No, you're the parasite, and I'm the fire that burns you out." With one final surge, Ethan drove his blade through Damien's chest. Crimson light burst outward, Damien's scream echoing through the arena as his body fractured into shards of red code. Sophie gasped, her knees buckling, as Damien's power unraveled into dust. Ethan staggered back, his armor disintegrating further. Lucas cried out, "Ethan, stop, you're tearing yourself apart." But Ethan's smile was weary, resolute. It was never about me surviving. It was about her surviving. He looked at Lily, who reached out with trembling hands, tears streaming down her flickering avatar face. The arena shook as Damien's voice faded into nothingness. Damien's shards scattered into the void, leaving silence heavy as stone. Ethan fell to one knee, breath shallow, his body crumbling piece by piece. Aiden Vale's reflection flickered into existence beside him, calm and cruel. "You burned him out, but the system still feeds. Now you must choose. Surrender yourself, or let the metaverse consume them instead." Ethan lifted his head, sweat and tears staining his broken avatar. "If one of us has to be food, let it be me." Aiden smiled faintly, almost proud. "So you finally understand. You were never a player. You were the sacrifice." Lucas shouted, "Don't you dare, Ethan. We fight together." But Ethan shook his head, his gaze locked on Lily. "I promised I'd keep you safe. This is how." Lily sobbed, her voice breaking. "No, please don't leave me." Ethan reached out, touching her hand gently, his heart splitting even as his resolve hardened into steel. The system howled as Ethan rose one last time, body dissolving into light. His eyes glowed with a fierce serenity, his voice carrying across the void. "You wanted my soul? Take it. But leave them free." Aiden Vale's expression shifted, almost mournful, as he merged back into Ethan, their forms fusing into a blinding storm of code. Lucas shielded Lily as the light erupted, Sophie collapsing to the ground, sobbing. The arena imploded, neon walls folding inward until only silence remained. When the light faded, Ethan was gone. Only his shattered headset lay on the floor of his real-world apartment, its screen still glowing faintly. Across it, words scrawled in glitching text, "I never left." The metaverse flickered, then stabilized, but the scar remained in every line of code. Lucas, Lily, and even Sophie stood in stunned silence, the weight of sacrifice crushing their hearts. Ethan was gone, yet somehow, he was everywhere.